Here's our first debut, Arrested Development in Tennessee.
Won't you help me understand you? Back to back.
Beat to beat.
What you say? Back to back.
Beat to beat.
Say what?
American Top 40.
Oh.
At 15, a group from Atlanta, Georgia. They won big everywhere this past year at the Grammys, at the Soul Train Awards. In fact, a lot of critics across the country said their debut album was last year's best album. Arrested Development have now had 3 top 10 hits on AT40. Why? Here's what they think.
Just inner strength from the creator, and all of us having a different vibe, and we coming together as a unit and projecting it to the public. And when we're on stage, it just comes out.
We don't think it's a formula that makes us. We just believe that it's talent that was given to us by the creator. And because of the positive message that we have, that's the reason why we get the support that we do.
Each person has their own special talents that they bring to the group, and it all kind of blends together like gumbo.
Go ahead, man.
American Top 40.
I'm Martha Quinn, and I am really getting the hang of this countdown thing. I see the numbers go backwards. Hey, Shadoe, need another week off? Just kidding. The group at number 21 called their sound life music. Works for me. I think there's a lot of life in Arrested Development, and apparently a lot of people agree. AT40 had a chance to ask them how they write their songs, and here's what they said.
Well, there are a lot of issues that come forth through each group member in the group. Then we come together jointly, and then we put a song together. I think it's one of those things where it has to be something where it's stimulating, whereas we can relate and the people can relate to it.
Yeah.
So that's how we come about with songs.
Casey's Top 40.
Hi, this is Casey Kasem. Newcomer Dionne Farris knows what it's like to be a winner because her song, I Know, has been number 1 on our survey for 2 weeks. Now, to stay there, Dionne will have to fend off some of the hottest acts around, like Sheryl Crow, Real McCoy, and Green Day. Can Dionne Farris win that tough battle and get a 3rd week at number 1? We'll find out as we count down all the biggest hits in the USA on Casey's Top 40.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
Well, that means we're up to the number 1 song in the USA on Casey's Top 40, brought to you by Johnson's Clean and Clear. This week's number 1 is by a newcomer who recently made a very unusual request of MTV. She asked them to stop playing her video. One of the best things that can happen to a new artist is to get their video picked up by MTV, and that's exactly what happened to the singer who has this week's number 1. She'd put together a video of her first solo hit, and MTV loved it. In fact, they loved it so much, they put it in heavy rotation, in their buzz bin. But when the newcomer saw her video on MTV, she was anything but buzzed. She says the video just didn't seem finished. It was too serious. It didn't show her lighter side. The newcomer says, quote, "Some things were missing, some of the craziness I do. One of my goals is to be true to myself. I'm a fighter, so I don't give up." Unquote. So in spite of the fact that she was getting a huge amount of exposure on MTV, she asked the channel to stop showing her video until she had it redone. And when she did the new version, it went right back into the buzz bin. According to the singer, it's a lot more memorable, with lots of shots of the newcomer mugging and making funny faces, lightening up the video and making it a lot of fun. These days, the fun continues for this talented and determined newcomer, because not only is her video all over TV, the song from it is all over the radio. And for the 3rd week in a row, it's the biggest hit in the land. The number 1 song in the USA on Casey's Top 40 is I Know by Dionne Farris.
Casey's Top 40.
This week's number 1 is by a hot newcomer whose solo career only took off after she had the courage to turn down a major recording contract. She got her first break when she sang with the group Arrested Development on the Top 10 smash Tennessee. But her dreams went beyond singing with a big group. She wanted to pursue a solo career, and she had a clear idea of exactly what kind of music she wanted to sing. She wanted to create something new, a unique blend of R&B, country, and rock. Soon her resolve was tested, because when Arrested Development's record company heard she wanted to go solo, they started to negotiate with her. They thought she'd be great doing smooth modern R&B, and they made her a very generous offer, an offer they thought she couldn't refuse. But after she thought long and hard, she did. The young singer was determined to make the music she dreamed of, and she continued to hold out for just the right record deal, a contract that would let her make her own kind of music. In the end, her wait was worthwhile, because she ultimately got that kind of deal from Columbia Records, and her first solo single has given a great boost to her career. 11 weeks ago, it entered our survey, and now, for the 4th consecutive week, it's the biggest hit in the land. The number 1 song in the USA on Casey's Top 40 is I Know by Dionne Farris.
I know what you're doing, yeah. Counting down with Casey Kasem.
This week's number 1 is by a singer whose mother once pestered her to stop goofing off, get a job, and get out of the house. It happened 6 years ago when the singer was 20 years old. She felt like she was in a rut. She didn't know what she wanted to do with her life. She just couldn't make up her mind. And rather than going out and getting a job that just wasn't right for her, she says she just hung around her mom's home in Plainfield, New Jersey. The 20-year-old had done some singing with local bands, but she didn't really have a career in music. She couldn't seem to connect with the right people. As you might imagine, the longer she hung out at home, the more stressful life became with her mother. You see, the singer's parents were separated, and life was already hard enough. One day, the friction became so bad between the 20-year-old and her mother that the young woman decided to pack up and move down to Atlanta where her father lived. And that turned out to be a major turning point in her life. Once out on her own, she started to blossom. She connected with the fast-growing rap and R&B scene in Atlanta. She started working as a freelance vocalist with a number of different groups, including the group Arrested Development. And that led to an opportunity to start a solo career, a career that's really started to take off. 13 weeks ago, her very first solo single entered our survey. And now, for the 6th week in a row, it's the biggest hit in the land. The number 1 song in the USA on Casey's Top 40 is I Know by Dionne Farris.
Casey's Top 40.
Hi, this is Casey Kasem. The hottest newcomer of 1995 now has the year's longest-running number 1. Because I Know by Dionne Farris is spending its 7th week at number 1, and that's more weeks at the top than any other hit this year. Now can Dionne Farris extend that record and get an 8th big week at number 1? We'll find out as we count down all the biggest hits in the USA on Casey's Top 40.